you have situations where if there's more time wasting in the game, it just added on. Like we've seen 7 minutes, 9 minutes. I think the least we now see is around 5 minutes of added time. In the previous episode, I did 5 key rule changes in football that have changed the game at very elite sports. This is part 2 with another set of 5, the final 5 that people barely talk about but have completely reshaped modern football. First, let's talk about the fact that kickoffs can go backwards. In 2016, the kickoff rule changed so the ball didn't have to go forward anymore. It could go in any direction as long as it clearly moved. That seems tiny until you realize that kickoffs now became a rehearsed set-piece phase. Teams now design bait presses, launch diagonals for second balls, or trigger a fast overload on one side. Kickoff stopped being ceremony. It became a weapon that people looked at. I think there was this famous sequence in the Euros where Germany played a kickoff as a set-piece sequence that resulted in a goal within the first few seconds of a game and was just brilliant. It's the idea that now kickoffs could be played in so many different directions, and that gives coaches the room to tweak how kickoffs are used as set-piece events. Second, let's talk about delayed offside flags. Because with VAR, assistants are now told to delay the flag in tight situations. Let the play run. Then if it results in a goal, we review. The Premier League even explained how and why this is applied. Tactically, this changed a lot. One, it meant that it changed how defenders step up. You can't relax when the flag doesn't go, because it could end up being a goal. So you have to chase down. I think there was a famous moment recently during the Arsenal-Manchester United game where Patrick Dogu had resulted in, I think, a seeming handball, and Zubimendi, instead of chasing him down or disrupting him from playing the ball, was seen with his arms up. I think this logic applies in a lot of instances where certain fouls are allowed to play on, even if there's a perception that it happened, because there's an ability to always run it back and check. Second, it also changed how attackers timed their runs. They are more encouraged to gamble because it's millimeters, it's mighty millimeters, and it could change a lot, which means that if they take the gamble and it pays off, later on it could end up that they're onside and the goal stands, right? And thirdly, it also changed how transitions happen because play continues into chaos before being pulled back, which means that you need to ensure that teams who are willing to take a lot of transition gambles are really held back. Because if not, they'll take a gamble and that gamble might pay off. That's why you see defenders furious after playing on for 15 seconds only for the offside flag to now go up. Why? Because they've wasted their breath, they are tired and all that. This is literally built into the VAR era mechanics, and it's changing a lot about how defensive shapes are being formed. Third, let's look at timekeeping crackdown. Time wasting is now becoming a higher risky strategy. The Premier League, for instance, has aligned with IFAB guidance to calculate additional time more accurately, including stadium clocks counting, continuing to run through added time, which means that now you have situations where if there's more time wasting in the game, it just added on. Like we've seen 7 minutes, 9 minutes. I think the least we now see is around 5 minutes of added time, right? And the league has published numbers showing the effect. So ball in play time and total live minutes has increased, equivalent to a massive chunk of extra football across a season, which means that now players are discouraged from wasting time. They want to have more ball playing in the game, and you have situations where you have 10 more additional minutes after the 90th minute. The tactical impact of this is that now you give low blocks situations because teams have more time to survive, or they have more times within which they have to survive within. Second, game management has become very, very different because now you can't fake cramps and all that. You have to be in situations where you are actually using maybe the 5 subs that they've given you, etc. Thirdly, depth becomes a very big thing. This and the 5 substitutions rule are the rules that have changed depth a lot for teams because more minutes then means more fatigue, which means you need more players that you can sub on to be able to withstand this fatigue. So if you think that teams are more tired now, yes, because the game is literally longer in practice. The fourth rule is that there's a 1-meter rule now since 2019, which means that set piece walls have to be 1 meter away from the place of the ball. When there are more defenders, basically when 3 or more defenders form a wall, attackers have to stay at least 1 meter away until the ball is played, right? Which means that you have a situation where until the ball is played, you basically cannot move as an attacker into the space. Now, this created a lot of mini scenarios, right? It killed the whole attackers standing inside the wall to disrupt jumps, block keepers' sight lines, and create collisions. Now, coaches had to adjust. So, for instance, they have more runners from deeper positions, they have more disguised deliveries, they have more second phase routines instead of the first phase just to break up that wall and at least for the ball to move first. And when it is enforced hard, it changes outcomes, right? It's one of those rules people forget exist until a goal is chalked off. I think earlier this season, a goal was disallowed specifically because an attacker moved prior to the ball being kicked, and it changes a lot, right? So you have those situations in there. Finally, let's talk about the concussion substitute rules trials that is happening. IFAB approved trials for additional permanent concussion substitutes starting in 2021. And the tactical impact would be that it removes a brutal dilemma where do you keep a player on who might be concussed or burn a normal sub and lose tactical options. Even fans treat it like admin, right? It changes match decisions, player welfare, substitutions, strategy late in games, etc. It's really, really important that this rule, for instance, is passed eventually so that players don't risk their health. But I think one other key rule that is being discussed is a rule proposed by Wenger, Wenger, whichever name it is, which basically is about offside rule that if you don't have a body part that is goal scoring body part in the offside position, then it shouldn't be considered an offside. I think there's trials at lower age groups of world football, and you might see how that changes a lot. There are a lot of goals that were scored against Barcelona last season that might have been a goal if that rule, for instance, was in place. So now you've got 10 rules over the course of 2 episodes that have changed a lot around the games. And hopefully you can see it clearly now. Modern football didn't randomly become what it is. It's engineered by incentives created by these rule changes. Rules changed build-up. Rules changed pressing. Rules changed defending in the box. Rules changed time itself. Rules changed set pieces. Rules changed squad design. So when someone judges today's game using a 2000 reference point by saying, well, in the 2000s, prior to the 2000s, they're not just nostalgic. They are judging a new sport with an old rulebook in their head. And that is not always fair to football, is it? Thank you for watching. Leave your comments, leave your thoughts, subscribe to the Shaft Sports, and see you on the next one.